Hi, my name is Wendy Reed and I teach high school geometry. Today we're going to learn a little bit of the basics of geometry. Basically everything in geometry is built upon points, lines, and planes. So we'll start with a point. So you could think of a point, it's just basically like a dot that represents a position or a point in space, for example. So here's just a random point, and we name points by capital letters, not lowercase letters. So I can name this point A, B, C, whatever, as long as it's a capital letter. And a point, is just like a dot in space. It just represents one little bitty spot. Lines are made up of points. So if you have a whole lot of points, together they make up a line. Okay? And a line extends in both directions. It has no width, no thickness. But as you can see, I put arrows to show that it continues in both directions. So for a line, there's a couple of different ways we can name a line. Okay? If you have points on the line, let's say I have a point here and a point here, and those 2 points are called C and D. The way we name a line is we use those 2 points and then we put a symbol on top. So let's say this line would be CD, and then you would put exactly what it is on top, the line. It has to have the arrows to be a line, because if you don't, it's a line segment, and we'll get into that later. Another way you can name a line is if you have a random letter, not a point, but a random letter that is cursive in lowercase. Like let's say I have a little cursive M out here, or it doesn't really have to be cursive, but just a lowercase letter. It has to be lowercase to distinguish the difference between the points. Okay, I can call that line M, or line N, or line L. L is a popular name, so I could call it line L. And that's the 2 ways we name a line. And then we have a plane. A plane, not like an airplane, but a plane is just a flat surface. Okay? A plane is made up of points and lines. Okay? And if you think about a flat surface as like the wall or the ceiling or the floor, that's a plane. Okay? So within the plane we have points and we have lines, so forth and so on. That's how it's made up. Okay? And we can also name planes. There's a couple of different ways you can name planes. So like if I name these points, or I can have a script letter onto the side. Now this letter, as you can see, is a capital cursive letter. It has to be capital and it has to be cursive in order to name it. And it's not a point in the plane, it's just a random letter over here. So we can name it 2 ways. The first way is by 3 points in the plane. It has to be 3, not 2, not 4, but 3. So we can call it plane ABC from the points within the plane, or you can name it by this little script letter. We can also call it plane R, and that's how you name a plane. So points make up lines, and lines make up planes. And that's your 3 basics of geometry. But they kind of go a little bit more in depth. For example, from lines, I have different types of lines, I guess you might say. The first one is a line segment. And like I was talking about earlier, a line segment is like cutting the arrows off. So it's a portion of a line. So a line segment is like if I take a line with the points A, B on it, and I just want that part of the line. That's a line segment. It's like taking a piece of the line out. And we name it the same way we name a line, minus the arrows. So this will be line AB with a segment symbol on top. And as you see, it has no arrows, and that's what distinguishes the difference between a segment and a line. The next one we have is array. An array is, it only continues in one direction. So it's basically half of a line. Okay, so if I have a line, and I just want half of it. That's a ray. So it's basically like half of a line. So if I put some points on here, excuse me, we can name this ray by these two letters, A, B, and then you just put a ray symbol on top. With a line, it was a line with arrows. With a line segment, it was a line without arrows. Well, a ray only has one arrow, so it's a line with one arrow. And that's how we name a ray. The next thing is an angle. It gets a little more, not too much, but maybe a little more complicated when we get to angles. And an angle, as you would know, looks like this. Now, the actual definition of an angle is actually, if you take this part off, that's a ray. So what an angle actually is two rays that have the same vertex, and the vertex is the center. Okay, so an angle is two rays with the same vertex. They just meet at the same spot, basically. We can name an angle actually three different ways. So the first way is by the vertex letter. So let's name some points on here. Okay, if you look at the three letters on here, the vertex letter is A. Okay, you always use an angle symbol, which is basically like a little open mouth, like a, the alligator mouth or whatever. We can call it angle A. Now you can't call it angle B or angle C because they're not the vertex letter. Okay, unless they're over here, it's not the vertex letter. So that would be angle A. That's your first way. Your second way is by three letters with the angle symbol, and it has to, the vertex letter has to be in the middle. So you could call it angle BAC or angle CAB, but the vertex letter has to be in the middle. So angle BAC or angle CAB. So three letters, not two though, because that's segments and rays and lines. So either one letter, that's the vertex angle, or three letters, that has the vertex letter in the center. And then our third way is a lot of times with angles you'll see a little number inside the angle. We can always name it by that number. So we could also call it angle 1. And that's pretty much the basics of geometry.